Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the gun rights of transgender people. Okay, so this has become a topic in the news. There's people out there that want to take away their gun rights because there have been a number of mass shootings that have been committed by people of that community. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say here is that it has always been my position, all right, that if you are safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun. No exceptions, okay? What that means is even if you are convicted of murder, okay, and you are sentenced to 25 years, okay, at if they're letting you out after 25 years, right? If your sentence was only 25 years and not a death penalty, right? What that means is that it was determined, right, by lawmakers and judges. It was determined that after you basically serve those 25 years, you're now safe to be released back into society. Hence, you should get all your rights back. Okay, and there's no differentiation here between gun rights and all of your other rights. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say that of all the rights in the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment is the one where it specifically says shall not be infringed, which means no restrictions, no compromises. Okay, so that is probably the strongest right of all of the rights. Okay, they wanted to basically, hammer that point home, and they put shall not be infringed. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to lay out here. I'll lay out there. Okay, if you're safe enough to be on the street, right, and out in society, you're safe enough to have a gun. Now, you might say, hey, I know plenty of people that shouldn't have guns. Okay, well, if that's the case, they probably shouldn't be out in society. Now, the burden of proof, right, is on society to prove that these people should not be out on the street. Okay, and that's just how it is. Okay, we don't prejudge people. We don't convict people based on what crimes they might commit. Okay, people have to actually commit the crime. Okay, now a lot of times people will say that, hey, the rights are not absolute. There's and the one that they will a lot of times they will go to is freedom of speech, right? And they'll say, hey, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but you can't yell out fire in a theater, right? But here's the thing that's the reason why you can't yell out fire in the theater, right? First of all, there might actually be a fire, so you would be justified in yelling out fire. But the thing that's illegal there is creating panic, okay? Creating a dangerous panic that might cause a stampede and cause people to be trampled to death, okay? But here's the important thing there, right? We don't rip out people's larynx, right, before they enter a theater because they might yell out fire and cause panic and cause people to be trampled to death, okay? So everybody that sits in a theater or a stadium or any crowded, gathering, okay, every single person that's there, okay, is capable of yelling out fire and causing panic, okay? So disarming people disarming people out in society because they might commit some crime would be the same as cutting the larynx out of people's throats before they enter a theater because they might yell out fire. Okay, so that's the equivalent there, and that's a direct one-to-one, relationship. Okay, so as far as some politicians, right, that and media people that had come out in favor of taking away the gun rights of transgender people. There's more than gun rights at stake here, okay? So the first thing is, of course, obviously they're trying to take away their gun rights, okay? But the second thing that's at stake here is freedom of speech, okay? Because what's going to happen is that if people who, let's say, might be transgender are afraid that they might lose their gun rights, well, now you're also restricting their speech, right? Because obviously they're not going to go out there and say that they are transgender, etc., if they're afraid of losing their other rights, okay? So you are also restricting their freedom of speech, okay? The other thing you're doing here is you're taking away, you're basically infringing on their right against self-incrimination, okay? Because how would you determine that these people are transgender? You can't just go based on their looks, because there's a lot of guys that look just naturally, look feminine, right? Especially a lot of younger, like a lot of teenagers, a lot of teenage boys or 18-year-old boys. I mean, they kind of look kind of feminine, and there's lots of women that look very masculine, and that's without them trying to be transgender. It's just how they look. So you can't just go based on looks. You have to question them, okay? You have to question them. So now again, you're getting into, do they, now you're getting into, hey, can they say what they are? And if they say what they are, now they have, and let's say they say that they are in fact transgender, and they admit to that. Well, now they have self-incriminated themselves, okay? So the right against self-incrimination is also at risk here, okay? And then, of course, there's due process. That's also at risk, because, I mean, what do you do? Like, let's say you have somebody that owns firearms, and now they say that they are transgender. Well, now, basically, what do you how do you take away their guns, right? Do you just have cops show up to their house and take them away, or do you actually go through court proceedings? Okay, and this is an important topic, because here's the thing: is this a formal court proceeding where they have all the rights of somebody that's actually under trial? Like, for example, the right to an attorney, right? If they can't afford one will be appointed for them, or is this like some type of civil issue where the burden of proof is on them to prove that they are not dangerous, right? Because there's a difference here. Like in a criminal proceeding, the burden of proof is on the government. But if now they try to turn this into something else, like some type of civil procedure, right? Or kind of like basically a red flag law. Well, now the burden of proof sort of shifts to the accused, and they don't have a right to a lawyer, right? And the other thing that happens if they're taking the guns preemptively, because that's what they do in a lot of these red flag states, okay? They show up, they take the guns, right? And even in cases where they say, hey, you've got like whatever 24 hours, you can get them, you got 24 hours to get a lawyer and fight this, right? The thing is, if you call up any lawyer, in most cases they are, there's several weeks backlogged. Okay, so usually you can't even get unless you're already the client of that lawyer. In many cases, it takes more than a couple of days before the lawyer even gets back to you. So with a lot of these red flag cases where they say that, hey, this is a potentially a quick thing where you get a lawyer and you can fight this and you can get your guns back. I mean, you're not going to get a lawyer, right, who has an open schedule that can appear in court within 24 hours and fight this, and you're going to pay them. And first of all, like I said, their schedule may not even be available. They might be on vacation, or they just may have other court cases that are already on their schedule. So that does not work out the way that anti-gunners make it sound like it would work out, and they know this. They know this. They're very aware, because the people that write these laws are lawyers. So they know that it usually takes many, many months for any case to work itself through the system because of different, conflicting schedules, among other things. Okay, so these are so beyond just gun rights, there's also free speech involved here. There's your self-incrimination rights. And there's also due process that's involved here. So there's a lot of things there. Now, this may because here's the thing. They're saying the argument here is that these people are crazy, right? So that's why they want to take their gun rights away. Now, how do you define crazy? I mean, that is one of those things that is very hotly debated. I mean, to me, somebody that's crazy is somebody that's repeatedly sticking a pin into themselves and causing lots of pain, and just saying, I want this pain to stop, but not understanding not understanding the cause and effect. Okay, I mean, that's kind of how I define crazy, right? Like somebody that's like poking themselves in the eyes and not realizing that their actions are causing those results. That's how I define crazy. You don't understand the results of your actions. So, to me, these people that commit these mass murders, and regardless whether they're transgender or not, whoever they are, okay, in all cases, they are aware of what they are doing. They know what they're doing. They plan it out. They know what the results are going to be. Okay, so these people are not crazy. Okay, and not only are they not crazy, but in many cases they are not stupid either. Right? They plan this thing out in such a way that they can succeed. Okay, so they're not stupid either. So what that means is, if you were to question them, right? Like, do you feel homicidal? Do you feel like, do you feel suicidal? Do you feel like killing a whole bunch of kids? If you were to question these people, they are, I would expect that they would know and they would be capable of lying their way through that interview, right? And I use the word interview there for a reason, right? When you go to a job interview, right, in many cases, what do? You hype up your experience, right? So and when you're asked a question that is that it's a question where, if you admit to it, like, for example, are you ever late for work? I mean, the answer. There's only one answer to that, right? If you're asked by an interviewer, are you routinely late for work, you know that the answer to that has to be no. Okay, you're on time, regardless of if there were reasons why you may have been late in the past. Okay, there might have been some very good reasons, right? Maybe you got small kids at home that you got to get them on the bus, whatever. Got to get them off to school. So everybody with any minimal level of intelligence, who's being questioned, is going to know what the correct answers should be. All right, so questioning people is not going to get you the answers that you think you're going to get. So these are all reasons why this whole thing about trying to take away the gun rights of transgender people is absolutely nuts. There's absolutely no way to go about this, and it just again, it goes down the slippery slope. Like, where do you stop? Okay, how about gay people? Right? Are you going to say that they are also crazy? Right? Are you going to try and take away their gun rights as well? And how about going beyond that? I mean, for example, every single person out there at one time or another, right, has done or said something that can be interpreted by somebody else as being crazy. Like, for example, if I don't like the weather, right, because I needed dry weather to do my work, and it's raining, and I'm sitting out here, screaming at the clouds, okay, that can be interpreted as me being crazy. Okay? And I'm not saying I've ever done that, but if I did do that, right, and that's an irrational thing to do, sitting here screaming at the clouds, right? Or let's say a tree falls over, and now I gotta cut up that tree, right? I gotta put an extra hour or two into cutting up this tree because a dead tree falls over, and it backed up my whole schedule, and I am sitting there cursing at the tree. I mean, is that rational? I mean, does it make sense for me to be cursing at a tree that fell over? That's kind of crazy, okay? So again, where do you stop? How do you determine who's crazy and who's not crazy? I think the only thing that makes sense there is, again, do you understand the cause and effect? All right, if you do something, you understand what the results of that are going to be, and you may very well decide, yes, I'm gonna pinch myself. It's gonna hurt, and I'm not gonna like it, but I understand what I'm doing, what the results are going to be. That may not be smart, but a person doing that would not be crazy, because they understand what they're doing and they understand what the results are going to be. Okay, so that's how I define crazy. Again, 100% against trying to take away the rights of transgender people or any other kind of people out there. The way our system works is, first, the crime has to be committed, okay, and then if people, basically those people then are charged, charged, convicted, and punished, okay. And you might say, well, that's kind of late for the people that are already dead, okay. Well, that's basically how it is, right? Because otherwise, then you're trying to figure out what people are gonna do when you're trying to punish them before they do that things. And that's something that's a slippery slope that you can't come back from, right? You're basically punishing people for thought crimes. Okay. So yeah, absolutely not. Now, one of the things I'm going to say on this is that I do expect the transgender people to stand up and fight for their rights. Okay. So like I'll do stuff like take this video, I'll send out some emails and make some phone calls to the politician, but they have to take the lead. Okay. They're the ones, right, that have to call up their politicians and let them know how they feel about this. Okay. So from my perspective, this is actually an excellent thing because part of the reason why I became a gun instructor is because I want to bring more people into the gun community, right? Because the more people come into the gun community, now the more people I turn into gun owners, right? Now those people, now the gun rights are not somebody else's rights; they're their rights, and now they have an interest in protecting the Second Amendment and all these other rights, all the other rights in the Bill of Rights. Okay, so this is a really good thing. I want to see them take the lead on this, right, and contact their politicians. And in many cases, most of these transgender people are going to be Democrats, right? They're going to be people that live in cities that are run by Democrats. Okay, so they got to contact their Democrats, right? And they got to let them know how they feel about it. Okay, and I will give them my support. Okay, but they got to take the lead. Okay, so this is an excellent thing. This is the best thing. This thing that has come up, right? Where them trying to take away the gun rights of transgender people. I mean, this is an excellent way to make people understand, why gun control is a slippery slope. Okay, eventually it will come back around to hurting you. Okay, whoever you might be, it's going to hurt you, and then it's not just going to be gun rights, because then they're going to go right down the line. They're going to take away every other right after that once they take away your gun rights, because your gun rights basically protect all your other rights. Okay, so that's how I feel about this. I want the transgender people, all people for that matter, to contact their politicians, right? And tell them how they feel and say, hey, hell no, you don't take away my gun rights. Okay, so drop some comments. Let me know how you guys feel about this. But like I said, my feelings on this are dead set. Okay, and they've been this way for since I was a child, basically. My feeling is that if you're safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun, and only after somebody has proven, okay, that they are unsafe, right, a danger to themselves or other people, by actually proving it, right, only then do they start losing some of those gun rights, and then, once they get back on the street, right, all rights restored. Okay, so drop some comments. Let me know how you guys think. I'll talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, I failed to answer one important question. How do we protect ourselves from people that would hurt us or our families or our friends in society? Okay, so the answer is not to try and identify these dangerous people in advance, because in all cases, people that want to do harm are usually very good at hiding their intentions. Okay, so there's no way to know in advance who wants to hurt you and when and where they're going to strike. So the only way to protect yourself and your family and your friends is to be armed and trained. Okay, that's the only way to be safe. Okay, you gotta be willing and ready to protect yourself and your family.